Hello, boys and girls. Today we get to start a new story. We focused a lot of time and attention on My Big Red Lollipop. We worked really hard to complete quite a few assignments to better understand that story and the way different characters are feeling throughout the story and how their choices end up affecting others. So as we move on to this story, it's going to be called My Brother Charlie. And this story really teaches us about acceptance and love, which is of course incredibly important. It's going to teach us acceptance for those who are different from us, acceptance for anyone that we come across, and also love for those people that we are close to. So a few things we're going to talk about before we read the story. If you look down here on your PowerSchool page, there is a discussion. So this is where we're all going to kind of first talk about acceptance and love and how we show that. So it says watch the video above and answer these questions. So there's going to be a video up here at the top. It's the video I'm making right now. So you're going to watch the video first and we're going to talk about these questions. Number one, how do people show acceptance and love? So how do you think just average people show acceptance and love for others? How have you seen just anyone, someone in your family, someone you just saw one time, some stranger on the street who showed acceptance and love to someone around them and you happened to notice the situation? So what are some ways you can think of that people show acceptance and love? And acceptance means even though someone's different than us, we value them, right? We accept them for who they are. We take them for who they are, right? We're not trying to change them or make them different. We just value exactly who they are. So that's what acceptance means. So how do people show acceptance and love? Number two, how do you show love? So to your adults at home, to your siblings, to your aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, whoever you have in your life that you show love to, how do you show that, right? Do you listen? Do you clean up after yourself? Do you help them with chores? Do you sit with them and spend time together? So lots of different ways, a bunch of different ways. Number three, how do you show acceptance when people are different from you? Okay, so specifically when people are different than you. In the book we're about to read called My Brother Charlie, Charlie is a little boy with autism. So that means he thinks differently and sometimes he acts differently than other children in his class and his siblings in his family. So how could you show acceptance when someone's different from you in any way, right? It could be that they're in a wheelchair. It could be that they have anything going on. It could be that they have autism like Charlie, who we're going to read about. Okay, so how could you show acceptance for someone who's different from you? Okay, when you click on this discussion post to post your answers, you're going to go to new post, subject. You can just put, love, whichever. And then I want you to kind of bat it like I did. Number one, how do people show acceptance and love, right? Number two, how do you show love? And number three, how do you show acceptance and love to someone who's different from you? Okay, and then once you're done, you'll push post. Then once you've posted, you can read other people's posts. And I would definitely recommend doing that because I know a lot of you are going to come up with some really awesome answers. And it's going to be really cool to see what other friends are posting. Okay, so that's your discussion post. Before we read the story, we need to talk about this anchor chart that I've posted. Because in My Brother Charlie, there's a certain person telling the story. That's called our narrator. Our narrator is the person who tells the story. And sometimes that person is just the narrator. They are not a character in the story. They're just a person telling someone else's story. So if a narrator is telling the story, they're going to use pronouns like he, she, they, and then the names of the people, right? He, she, they, and then names. So they're going to say these pronouns because they're talking about someone else. They're not talking about themselves. If it's the character telling the story, you're going to hear them say I, me, we, my, those pronouns, because they're talking about themselves. Okay? They're talking, I went to the store. They're telling their own story. Okay? The character tells their own story. The narrator is telling someone else's story. Coming up in the next few days, we're going to do a assignment where we switch the point of view. So we're going to figure out who's telling the story in My Brother Charlie, and then we're going to switch in our writing to a different person's point of view. So it's very important that we understand who is telling the actual story. Who is telling the story of My Brother Charlie? Is it a narrator or is it one of the characters? So when you go to the next video to listen to the story My Brother Charlie, think about that. Which words do you see? Do you see he, she, they, and then names of characters? Or do you see I, me, we, my? Okay, and I'll kind of talk about it and point that out to you throughout the story. So if a character is telling the story, you also need to figure out which character. Is it the mom or the dad or the sister or the doctor or the brother? Okay, who's telling the story? And then if there's a narrator, it's just kind of an outside person, not someone who's interacting with the characters or who is part of the story. So that's point of view. So definitely look for those pronouns as I read the story My Brother Charlie. So that's about all we have to go over for the story. We have our discussion on acceptance and love. We have our anchor chart that you can reference back to if it's the narrator, he, she, they, character, I, me, we, my. Okay, so reference back to those things as you're thinking about the story. Also today, I have a little to-do list for you guys. So this is everything you need to get done. Okay, watch lesson 6 video, number 1. That's the video I'm making right now. So if you didn't watch this first, that's okay, but definitely watch the whole thing. So after you watch the video, you answer discussion questions. Okay, so talk about acceptance and love before you listen to the story My Brother Charlie, because I don't want you to write about how people in that story show acceptance and love. We're not talking about that story now. We're talking about your everyday life here. So you're going to answer those discussion questions. Number 3, you'll watch a video of Read Aloud. So number 3, after discussion questions, you are going to watch the video of me reading My Brother Charlie. Okay, then seesaw videos, and I'll delete number 4 because I've already talked about point of view, so I'm going to switch that up a little. After number 5, you have some seesaw activities, so you need to check on seesaw and find your new activities. I want you to read for 20 minutes after you finish those. Spend a little time on typing.com. And then number 8, if you have extra time, you can get on Teacher Monster to read. So definitely make sure you complete everything in this to-do list. And I am going to just go ahead, because I already made the video for point of view, didn't I? Okay, so just watch video of Read Aloud and then go straight to your seesaw activities. Okay, there's going to be just 2 videos for you to watch. Okay, and that's 7 things for you to accomplish. So that should take up your whole afternoon as you go about your day for English language arts. Okay, if you have any questions, definitely reach out to me on our afternoon Zoom, and I can't wait to see especially some of your discussion posts.